Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. It has been a humbling week in the Biggs household, which is my household. There has been a lot going on in the news. There has been a lot going on in the business and conversations I'm having with women. I think the shift is starting to get real for a lot of people. And for those of us, I'm going to include myself in this, who have put their head down and who have put their nose to the grind and have worked and worked and worked since March and have been building their businesses and helping women or whatever that you're doing, bringing on more clients. You've maybe not paid as close of attention to what is going on outside of your business. Now, I'm going to say I've been paying attention to the news. I've been filtering what I want to listen to. I've been giving platforms for women to have voices. But what I want to share today and what my guest and I are going to be speaking out about is really, we have to face the facts that we are not going back to any reality that you ever remembered or quote unquote normal in what we've ever had in the past. And Debbie and I were talking before we got on to go live today. And one thing we were speaking about was, and I just brought this up as an example, picture 30 years ago. And if you're too young to picture 30 years ago, picture 25 years ago or 20 years ago. I just want to remind everybody, you know, when I was growing up, we didn't have car seats, and I never wore a seatbelt. My mom would leave me in the car to go into an appointment inside of a building. If I was sleeping, she left me in the car and rolled down the windows. We slept with our front doors open and only our screens, which were not locking screens. We would just sleep with the front door open, our windows open at night. Parents would drive with kids on their laps. Like, this was the normal of, and we think about that now, like, what? Who would endanger their child, right, by not putting a seatbelt on them? But that was the reality then. And I'm just trying to use that as a defining point for understanding we couldn't have fathomed back then what it would be like to strap our children down in 5-point harnesses for their safety and having extra anchors in cars to anchor down seatbelts. I mean, we're talking like 4 or 5 anchors in vehicles to anchor down seatbelts for children and lock them in so tightly. You know, it just wasn't anything we thought about. It wasn't anything that was a reality. So when you think about something like that, so severe, which I know we can all relate to, it's something very simple we can all relate to. When you look at where the world is going today, and the uncertainty that we have, it's tending to really affect people in different ways. And in that, I want to ask all of my listeners and all of you on Facebook today to have grace with other people. Have grace with people in a grocery store. We're all wearing masks. I went shopping yesterday, and the biggest thing I miss, I'm getting a little emotional. The biggest thing I miss is smiling at people. I'm smiling, but I can't tell if they're smiling back. And that's the hardest part for me, because that's how I show emotion, through smiling or through fear or through crying, or through, you know, I smile a lot at people at grocery stores just so that they know that I see them. And I couldn't see one person's face yesterday at the grocery store. And I didn't think it was going to affect me today like it is. But I think this is a conversation that needs to be had. So I want to open up in welcoming Debbie Corey with me today, so I get the opportunity to at least introduce her. And we both didn't know where today's conversation was going to go, but she agrees that we need to be having these conversations about financial strategies, how do you pivot in your business? How do you pivot in your private life? What do we need to be paying attention to? How do we increase cash? How do we save cash? How do we plan for an uncertain future that we're not sure is happening? And I love coming back to Debbie, because Debbie is a financial strategist. And in the very beginning, when we were locked down in the pandemic, I met Debbie and I said, oh my gosh, are you doing any webinars on what all of this PPP and idle loan and all of these things that they're throwing at all of these businesses that I have to tell you, my husband and I were struggling with, my partner, so many women I know, they didn't even know what to apply for, how to do it, what do I qualify for? And Debbie's like, heck yeah. I'm going to do a webinar and I'm going to teach everyone. And I said, you're the genius here. We need your help. And she put together a webinar in less than a week and did a webinar, and we invited hundreds of people to come to learn about what are we supposed to do. This is when you're thrown into the fire. It's you're a little numb at first on looking for exits and how to get out, right? And what you're supposed to do in the pathway. So Debbie, what I love about her was she just took the lead. She said, this is my genius. This is what I'm educated in. This is my path. Let me teach people what they need to do. And you know what I learned from Debbie that was so huge that day was we need to be students. And we talk about this a lot. My favorite phrase that I say is, if learning is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. We need to be students right now. This is an opportunity for us to sit back and be students to those that can teach us what it is that we need to do. Not that they have been in this reality at ever and understand it, but their genius is going to help us navigate our way through it. Because it could be similar to like a recession, right? There are steps that we can take that are similar to that. So Debbie, I know you're a partner at B2B and you're a CFO and you have 30 years of finance experience. I could go on and on. You are absolutely lovely. And she's joining us from vacation today.
I thought this was important to talk about, and people need information now. So my husband and I took a little bit of time out of our vacation because I thought this broadcast on Facebook was incredibly important, especially to business owners and people trying to navigate in this time. And I'm more than willing to share my time. So like I said, I think it's really important. And there's a lot of things going on right now, and people don't know how to manage this crisis. And my number one thing I want to tell you is nobody has a crystal ball to see where we're going to go. The best thing you can do is continue with your future. Get out of today, because today, guys, it's yucky, right? We don't know where things are going to go next. And you've really got to look at your strategic plan. Where was it you thought you wanted to be? You may not be hitting your numbers right now, but that doesn't mean your plan has to cease. Maybe it just changes the outlook of what you believe you can accomplish this year. The thing that will kill businesses is not being able to control cash, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later in the broadcast. But the number one thing besides cash is indecision. You have to make decisions today. Some of them are going to work out and they're going to be great. Other ones aren't going to work out at all. And that's okay too, because the ones that don't work out, you know what your next step is. You know where to go next. But if you sit in indecision today, your business is not going to make it. You've got to start making decisions. We've had almost 4 months of this now. It's time to take action, and I can't encourage that enough.
Yeah, I want to go back and anchor it. Thank you so much, Debbie, and welcome to the show. I'm so happy that you're here. You said a couple of things that really struck me, which was get out of today and continue with the future. So being strategic, you also mentioned making decisions today and not being indecisive. And I want to answer that, Ann, because we had Jean Kuhn on our show a couple of weeks ago. And the number one tip when I asked her what her tips were, is she said the fastest path to wealth is speed.
Yes.
And I want everybody to remember that. So if you're listening today and you're feeling as if I have felt over the past weekend when we were all out for 4th of July. I think the independence hit me as well because we weren't really able to celebrate our independence and 4th of July, which is a really big deal for all of us here in America. And many of us were locked down. Like, this is my 5th month going into lockdown. We're locked back down in Arizona. So this is our 5th month of being locked down. I guess we were out for a month, maybe. And our numbers actually weren't that bad. It's just, they didn't spike 2 or 3 weeks after we went into it. It's starting to spike now. And so they locked back down gyms and some restaurants and many businesses that were open. And, my heart sinks for those businesses because I know that they're struggling and they may not ever be able to open back up again. That might be the end for them, being able to continue with business. So, but it also brings me back to how thankful I am that I don't have a brick and mortar store, and how thankful I am that I'm able to do what I do every day. And I don't need to be shut down because I have to have people walk through my doors. So I look at the differences of what is going on out there. And I'd love for us to get into the conversation now, which what you were talking about is making decisions today. What decisions can we make in our businesses today that are going to drive our revenue and drive our businesses and be able to employ the employees and contractors and services that we employ moving forward?
Well, I think the number one thing we forget about is sales drives cash. So if we're not working on a plan to figure out how we can do more sales or do our sales differently, or talking to our sales teams or our customer service people and having them reach out. I have a customer that has a seasonal business. And when this pandemic hit them, March, April, May, biggest selling months for them, we were shut down. Garden centers that they do work for and distribute to totally shut down all around the country. They didn't know what to do. You know what they did? They concentrated on sales. They reached out to those garden centers. They said, how can I help? Do you know we're still available? What can I do for you? When they opened up, they had more orders in May and June than they've had in their history, and finished this year strong, just like there hadn't been a pandemic, because they kept doing the activities they needed to do to make those sales. In fact, we know for a fact that July and August of this year are going to be the strongest months they've had in 5 years. So, keeping a positive attitude, reaching out to your customers and just talking to them. Don't make a sales call. Ask them how are things going. If you've got customers that are having a hard time paying you, the other thing we did was we've always said to our customers that we're partners with them. So we reached out, asked them how things were going. If they had past due bills with us, we said, we've got a 4-month, a 3-month, or a 2-month plan to help you pay that off. How would you like to proceed? We want to work with you. And customers loved it because then they weren't worried about trying to pay a bill in full. We had an answer for them where they could meet their obligations. So I think reaching out to people right now is so important, and looking at your sales and what your closed sales cycle is. So for example, if you have a closed sales cycle of 3 to 4 months and you've shut yourself down, you may be okay through July, but now you've got a problem, right? Mm-hmm. So get that sales team involved. Tell them what your goals are. Talk about what the numbers are you need to hit, and give them ideas on how to do it. I think communication right now is so important. And if people are tired of Zoom calls, just call them on the phone. Mm-hmm. There are other ways to communicate. It doesn't have to be Zoom all day long. Trust me, I know I do a lot of Zoom.
Same here.
And sometimes your customers are tired of Zoom and they want to be in their sweatpants or whatever and talk to you. Let them do it, Always communicate with people the way that they want to communicate. Yeah. So, and another story I have, I think that was a success, especially for restaurant owners. Think outside the box. Maybe your restaurant shut down, but do you have a unique item that you could flash freeze and sell? There was a young lady here in Edwardsville, Illinois, pasta and pizza Pasta and pizza. I can talk. Anyways, that was her business, a small restaurant. She now figured out in 90 days, folks, how to flash freeze her pizzas and sells them all over the United States. And this was born from a business owner that had to figure out how to make money during a pandemic. So just because you're a restaurateur doesn't mean you can't think outside the box and figure out what you can do for your business.
I'll share a quick story. My daughter-in-law actually, she sells children's clothing for very special occasions in babies' lives. So when they're born, and you know, she has seamstresses that sews the bottoms, and then she has the onesies that are printed on that have these really cute sayings, and then there's little bows, and then the boys have, you know, kind of similar outfits. And she does birthdays, outfits, so on and so forth. So special occasions, holidays, birthdays. She's always done really, really well for herself. She's from out of the country. Her and her family moved here from the Netherlands. She's always done really well for herself here in America. And good thing she started her own business, because, you know, working through the residency and the citizenship takes a really long time. And she wouldn't have been able to work, you know, for a business. So she started her own business. When she went into the pandemic, all of her sales stopped. And she said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm really nervous. And she said, you know, I have all these seamstresses that want to donate their time and do something for all of the healthcare workers. So we're going to create some masks and donate them. So she did. And she was putting photos up of the masks that they were donating. She donated 1,000 of them. And people asked, can I buy that mask? So she went to her Etsy store, changed and added all these masks from the material that she had, that she was making, the bottoms and all of the outfits for the children. And she made 5 times her sale. I don't know. She made like $50,000 in 1 month, just in masks. That's
amazing. That's amazing.
She went from, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe we're going to have to move back in with you guys. I don't know what's going to happen, to making, you know, quadruple to more in sales in 1 month of what she would generally make. So it's about 5 times, and has continued. And now her sales are starting back up in the other area, but she's also selling masks, because honestly, masks are clothing today.
If
you own one, or 2 or 3 or 5, like I do, you know, you have to wear them in my state every time you go outside. If I go to a store, if I go to a restaurant, anywhere I go, they're required. You have to wear them in public. So you match them to the clothes you're wearing. You have to wash them, you know, so she just out of the blue had to make a pivot and decided, I'm either going to fail and then I can't afford to feed my children, or I'm going to succeed, and made a pivot. And it's just a story that I wanted to share, because sometimes you have to, who would have thought masks, that we would ever be sewing masks or buying masks to wear them? So this is like, who would have ever thought 20 years ago or 30 years ago that our children would be in 5-point harnesses either in a car? And so let's talk about that, Debbie. How do we pivot in looking at your business? Like you said, moving forward, you gave some really great advice. You said, now's the time for outreach, not to sell, but outreach to stay in touch with your customers and see how you can help them.
I think that's really important, because sometimes your customers will tell you the answer you need and what you.
Oops, I think I lost you there for a minute, Debbie, on your Wi-Fi. So the last thing you said was reaching out to your customers was really important. And sometimes your customers will give you the answer that you need. Are you with me? Oh, okay. I think we might have lost Debbie. We will wait for her to come back to us. So Debbie, if you can hear me right now, we have, let me know if you can dial back in, and hopefully that will get you back to us. But until we get Debbie back, let me go ahead and continue chatting about the conversation we were just having. Go back to your database, and let's go look at all of your customers that you have in your database. Let's talk about how you can reach out to the customers that you have in your database.
Colleen, can you see me? Sorry.
Yes, Debbie, perfect. I was just talking to the listeners about going back to their database of their customers.
Exactly.
And creating a plan of outreach. So whether it's, now we have a lot of solopreneurs that listen to the show that are women entrepreneurs. So you should make a plan daily. How many women or how many of your customers can you reach out to per day, whether that be email, phone, texting, Facebook messaging, and how many of them can you reach out to per day, and put that plan together.
And I've been doing videos. Make yourself different. Do a less than minute video when you're texting. And I've been getting great responses from those. I have a coach that encouraged me to do that, and I didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't want to do this. They said, do 20 of them. So I'm just telling you, I'm human like everybody else. I'm not superwoman. So I started doing these videos, and they've been getting great responses. People are like opening up and going and responding, and we're having some great conversations, and they're videoing me back, which is awesome.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how we can send video messages. Are you doing that through text? Or are you doing it through?
I'm actually doing it through text. So I have an iPhone, and I just turn on the video, look into the camera, and start talking, and send out the video message. So, and I think what's great about that is it adds a personal contact to that person without having to talk on the phone, and then they can look at it during their time when they have an opportunity to look at what you're doing. And I think the other thing is it just makes you real to people, right? When you're on a video with them, and it shows your emotion, your expressions, and your sincerity. So I have found, instead of it being, a thing I don't want to do, I've started doing a lot more of it. I really like it.
And how many would you say you do a day, or we should target?
I'm only doing like 2 or 3 a day right now. I did, the other thing besides reaching out to your customers is reach out to your network partners and see how they're doing. See how you can help them. Get that referral network built back up again. When business is good, we all do what we're not supposed to do. And it's like we all concentrate on our customers, and, then for a lot of us, our referral network dries up. This is a really good time. Reconnect with those referrals, see what they're up to, see what they're doing. How can you help them?
Yeah.
That's the first question out of my mouth. So if you're a giving person, the first thing you should say to anybody is, how can I help you? What can I do for you today? How can I make things better? It shouldn't be what can you do for them. It should be what do they need. That's my advice. I think that's incredibly important, because really those calls aren't about you if you do them right. It's about the person in front of you that you're trying to talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. So let's talk about, now that we're talking about outreach, checking in with our customers, and if you do have customers that do pay you and are behind or having financial struggles, you also talked about giving them grace and putting them on payment plans, or, whatever you can do to help their situation. Right. This is a time to be creative through this. Let's talk about financial strategies moving forward. Let's talk money, everything that nobody ever wants to talk about, which is money. Everybody wants a lot of money, but nobody wants to talk about money.
Well, here's the thing. As business owners, a lot of us love sales, and we don't want to look at our books, right? So it's all about, what did I sell? What did I sell? What did I sell? Well, if you don't know what your net profit is on what you're selling, you could have a big problem. And I think the pandemic was a wake-up call for a lot of people, because they didn't realize that they had to have some money set aside. So what happened, which I think was wonderful for business owners, is there's 2 programs, not going to spend a lot of time on them, just want to mention them, that are available, especially for people that may not have the best credit, or sole entrepreneurs that typically have a hard time getting credit from banks. And that is the PPP loan, which has not shut down. It has been extended to August 8th. There's going to be some contact information that will be at the end of the show. And if you're having trouble getting a bank to give you a PPP loan, reach out to me. I've got a couple resources for you. The other thing is the EIDL loan, and that is applied directly through the SBA and their website. Maximum right now is $150,000. And if you're sole entrepreneur, you will get a $1,000 grant if you have no employees. If you have employees, you can get up to a $10,000 grant maximum. Plus, you can also get a loan. Why would I say get a loan right now? Because an $150,000 loan, it's over 30 years at 3.75 max. That could be a cash infusion you need for your business, and you can take as long as you need to pay it back. Mm-hmm. So, and I know people have all these different ideas about borrowing. As long as you're not overextended, this is a good time to use your line of credit. It's a good time to apply and get these loans. And you may be sitting here thinking, well, I don't need the money right now. I'm good. You don't know if you're going to be good 12 months from now. Get your PPP loan, get your EIDL loan. When people offer money at really good rates, you should take advantage of that and use their money rather than your own money and get your business in line. I mean, it's a very good strategy as long as you do it responsibly. So, you know, I'm not saying go out and get a $150,000 EIDL loan and then spend it on a bunch of stuff that you don't need for your business. Use that for working capital in your business and things that you need to expand.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So if, you know, use it for the things that are going to drive your business. So sales is always number one, right? So if you need someone,
number one,
yeah,
you've got to know your cash flow for the next 12 months. And that may sound really scary to some people right now because they're like, Debbie, I don't even know what's on my bank, right? You know, for yesterday. So you should do 3 scenarios right now for your cash. One is the world is falling apart and nothing's ever going to happen again. And how long can I survive? That's a really scary scenario. We don't want to live there, but you need to know what that scenario is. The other scenario is, okay, so 12 months, my business stays the same. What does that look like? 12 months, I'm reaching whatever my 12-month goal is. What does that look like? So you've got an A, B, C, D, right? Or A, B, C. So when things happen like this, you can pivot faster because you understand what your outflow is. And that's the purpose of this. You've got to know what your outflow of expenses are so you know what you need to sell to hit your goals. Because the bottom line is you got to hit that net profit number to get where you want to go. And that net profit number is what your cash is going to be in your business.
Mm-hmm. So and let's talk about that. I like talking about the outflows. So the scenarios are great, right? The world's falling apart, or there's no changes in your business. It just comes along exactly the way it is, or you're able to hit your goals and where you're going. So let's talk about the outflow and the world that we're in today. So I'll just speak about the black and white of what's obvious. We're not gathering in person. So any events that you have, there's a lot of women that are listeners, subscribers, that are with Lead Up for Women in the community, that are listening to this, that do speaking events, that have gathering events, networking events. You know, they depend on doing gatherings together in person. Lead Up for Women is one of them. You know, our sanctuary events are in person. So when you are planning for anything from this point moving forward, my recommendation would be that you're planning everything to be virtual, that you're not planning in-person events. Yes, Debbie.
And I'm really excited about that because now you can have customers across the country. When you were doing those speaking events before, here is a huge opportunity to expand your business. And, you know, everybody's doing virtual events, right? That's what you're thinking right now. And I don't want to be everybody, but your topic's significant. Whatever you were going to hold that seminar on or speak about has some meaning to people. And so now, instead of having a small audience, you can have a much bigger audience, which means bigger bandwidth for you means better building of your brand, right? And better credibility. There are so many advantages to going virtual. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm very excited about the whole virtual market.
Yeah, you didn't interrupt me, and it's very exciting. Like you said, it's very exciting. And I've been on many, many, many online opportunities. Lead Up for Women is bringing virtual lunches into our community starting in September. And we used to do those in person. So here's the opportunities you have. Now you don't have to get on a plane and fly somewhere. That's cost you money. Now you don't have to pay for a hotel room and an Uber and all of the expenses that you would have had, food, to go to an event to speak, or for you to have a booth, or for you to do whatever it is that you were going to do and pay to be at that event, or someone was paying you. Now you could do 2 of those in a week and get paid for them, and you don't have any expenses going out for you to have to fly anywhere or be anywhere. Same. The numbers are going up for people that are attending events. So if you had an event and you used to have 20 people at that event, when you do it online virtually, plan to have 40 people registered for that event, because women and men alike are willing to spend the money online. So women charge for these events. They don't need to be free. Women and men are willing to pay for an event to be able to go online for them to attend, and they don't have to fly somewhere. They don't have to pay for a hotel. So for them, they're saving a ton of money.
Well, and the other thing you can do, so like you charge for the meeting, we all know that there needs to be a sell, right, at the end, right? So maybe you send a gift card where they can, buy their own meal and then they attend the sell with you. There's all kinds of creative ways you can now do that selling process through the virtual meeting.
Yeah.
And you can sell to multiple people at one time instead of one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
When you learn this process, and we're all gonna, mess up and go through this process where we learn how to do it right and perfect it, just like we do anything else. But the opportunity there to how many people's lives you can impact, that's what excites me the most about virtual, because that's why I do what I do. It's the impact I have, the positive impact on people's lives. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah, and they can come from all over the world.
Right.
And you can have people from all over the world attending. And maybe before, like I said, plan on doubling your numbers on that. This is an opportunity for you to look at, how can I make this impactful for someone to be able to attend virtually? Because I do attend a lot of events virtually, and they are very impactful for me, in my life. And this is a time for us to be able to learn more. Our education looks different than it did in the past. That's to be recognized. Our life with our family looks different than it did in the past, because we don't have anywhere to go. We don't have anything to do. So you have the opportunity to spend time with your family.
Unless you're a rebel like me and you say, I'm getting in one vacation before they shut the world down again, which is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about, but you're doing it the safe way, because like you said, you rented a vehicle, so you're not getting in and out of Ubers or
No, we're wearing masks everywhere.
Yeah.
We're social distancing. So, and my husband and I had a big discussion before we left, whether, we were going to do this or not. So there's not a lot of people in Vegas right now. So I'm feeling pretty safe, and I feel like we're supporting the Vegas community. So
yeah, absolutely. And it's okay. It's okay to spend time outside of your house. And, that's the other thing I think that we need to recognize is, if you're an extrovert like me, I love to be around people. I love to, as much as I can, be in gatherings of people, be in my community, have time to get to know people. I'm a hugger. I just love to be around people. So, I think
that's what I miss the most, is the hugs, right? Yeah. And the simple thing of shaking hands. And I spent a lot of time learning how to shake hands, right? And now it's like, okay, I think that might be an ancient art.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yes. So, all right. We talked about a lot of things today about driving cash, getting to understand your books, really understanding your cash flow. So Debbie, where do we go from here? Let's talk about how you help customers understand their financial strategies.
Sure.
And as a company, how do you support businesses through this?
So what we've been doing is assisting people with their cash analysis. So like those 3 scenarios I talked about, a lot of people aren't equipped to do that. So we've been helping business owners do those cash scenarios. I've been offering free 30-minute cash sessions to business owners to ask me about anything they want, their PPP loan, their EIDL loan. They don't know, where their cash is going to come from. They need help, figuring out what their cash flow is. And I've been doing those for free as my give back to the community. So what we do is we concentrate on the future. And you may be looking at me today saying, I don't even know where I'm going to be today, Debbie. How can I concentrate on the future? Well, I know COVID is terrible, but the facts are every 10 to 11 years, there's some kind of event we have. It's a recession. It's, God forbid, 9/11 and what the impact it had on this country. Business changes every 10 to 11 years. This has been a very significant impact. And to survive, you've constantly got to be looking out to the future. And that's what we help business owners do, because as a business owner, you get caught up in the day-to-day, and we sit down with you and help you concentrate on where you want your future to be and what you want your life to look like. Because your life isn't just your business, it's about where you want to be personally also at the end of this journey or along your journey, and be fulfilled. And I talk a little fast because I get very excited about what I do, so I'll try to slow down. But it's the best gift ever to see successful people actually achieve their goals. And they're successful because they're hard driven and they've made mistakes and there's things they need help with. And the most successful people I know allow others to help them and realize they're not experts in every field. And that's what makes them successful. They surround themselves with really good support people that are experts in business wealth, that are experts in, business law, that they have an outside CFO to help them with their business. They have a personal CFO to help them with their finances. They hire those people to help them, and they get the best of the best to help them do their business. And I think that's really important. I have people ask me all the time, who should my first hire be? And it's a bookkeeper. You have got to know where your finances are, and you're too busy to keep track of it. You're too busy doing other things. Hire a bookkeeper. They're not that expensive, guys. A lot of them are $30 to $60 an hour, depending on what you need. When you're first starting out, there's not a lot of time involved, and they will help you keep on track and know where your business is. Let somebody else do that part for you. And you might say, well, I bought QuickBooks, I could do it. Of course you can do it, but it's not worth your time. Think about what your time is worth. You could be taking that time and working on your sales rather than on your books. So when you're thinking about these business decisions, you need to concentrate on your return on investment, because you're the head of your company and your billable time, when you think about it, is at least $500 an hour. Some of you may hear that number and go, that's crazy. But it is, because what you do in your business is incredibly important. So when you're making a decision about a hire, if they can give you more time to be a $500 an hour employee and take something off your plate, then you need to really consider it, because that'll get you to the next level.
That's absolutely accurate. And I want to add one piece to that. I've had many conversations lately with women that have entered into Lead Up for Women that are CPAs, that do bookkeeping, that do financial strategies. And every single one of them, what they have told me is, I generally can find my fee in the books of money that's being wasted. And so I can tell them, you can hire me practically for free, because I will find areas that you're wasting money in and help you tighten up your books. So,
right. I mean, what I tell people is you will get back 4 times and more what you pay me in benefits and in cash back in your business.
it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
absolutely true. And I understand if someone cannot wrap their brain around what that looks like, but if you are making one investment to start, that should be the first investment, because you need to understand what your monthly numbers look like. You need to, if you do not have a goal, I talked about this yesterday in a course I was teaching. It is like throwing a dart at a board that has no bullseye. What are
Yeah,
you throwing your
if
dart?
you've been struggling with your business and you can't figure out what's wrong, if you haven't set goals for yourself, that's what's wrong. You're absolutely right, Colleen. And that's what we help business owners do. What are your goals? And so I think sometimes people are like, well, goals, that leaves the people out. Your goals are tied to your people. If you don't have the right people in the right place and your people don't understand the company goals, you'll never get them on board and you'll never get to where you're going. A lot of times the things I find at companies is once you get your employees engaged in the business and give them what the scorecard is, you don't have to disclose all your financials. We can have a topic on that another day. But once you tell them what their scorecard is and how they can contribute to the game and what the rewards are for them, your business will grow leaps and bounds. So, you know, it's sharing information and knowing how to share information to get where you want to go, and sharing those big, hairy goals, and dream big. Please dream big, because you'll never get there without dreaming big.
Yeah, we don't know where we're going. It's an uncertain time. So why not put together dreams and goals that are, you know, I call them reach goals. With all the companies that I worked with. So you should, just like you talked about, knowing your A, B, and C, right? What happens if no changes? What happens if the world completely goes to crap? And then what happens if I'm able to grow and hit my goals? I would look at your goals and say, okay, so let's have a goal that you know you can hit, right? So that would be consistent. Then let's step it up one notch of what would it take for you to get to this next goal, right? And look at all those pieces. And then have a reach goal that, you know, seems so like you've never been there before, ever.
Right.
But if I guarantee you, this happens every time. I could go through 1,000 scenarios and stories of businesses that this has happened for. If you go after the reach goal, you will always, whether you hit that goal or not, be well above what your goal was.
It's true. If you set a goal too low, your expectations and what you're going to do in your business, you're not going to get to where you want to go. And remember the courage that it took for you to start. Remember when you took that step off the cliff into the unknown and you had no idea what's going to happen. Nothing's changed. The cliff has changed a little bit, and we still have to take that step into the unknown. So there's, you know, this big, I see business owners do three things right now. They contract because they're so concerned about what's going to happen. They stop growing their business. They're indecisive. We already talked about indecisive. Or the other ones say, I don't care what's going on. Here's my goal. My goal's out here. I'm going to figure out a way to make it happen and make it work. When you started your business, you were in lane 3 that I just talked about. And I want everybody to get back to lane 3. That mindset where you're, you know, everybody said, you're going to do what? You want to do what? You got a great job. What are you thinking about? That's where you need to be, guys. Get back to lane 3 so you can start making things happen again.
Get back to being excited about being an entrepreneur, because right now in the world, the way it is today, being an entrepreneur is the absolute best lane you can be in for growing.
You have control over your destiny. There's employees for big corporations like Centene. You know, Centene's really a big corporation in St. Louis. We just heard that they're setting up a new headquarters in South Carolina. We don't know what that's going to mean for a lot of employees here in St. Louis. And they're letting their employees work from home till September 1st. So, you know, there's been a lot of big changes in the world. You control your destiny as an entrepreneur. And you have employees you may be responsible for, and you want to make sure you're doing the best for them and your company, yourself and your family. And that requires decision-making and that courage, right? We all get scared, every single one of us. Colleen, I know you had to have been scared during this pandemic. I have. You know, it's just human nature, right? The fear of the unknown. But we've got to get back to where we're taking action. Action is what makes things happen.
Yeah, I think my biggest fear is, how am I going to survive if I'm not going to be able to have physical contact with other people on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a human that needs physical contact. I'm not an introvert, I'm an extrovert. And that's probably my biggest struggle right now is just that missing that emotional connection piece with other people.
And I so get that because I'm not an introvert, as you know. I go around and talk to strangers and I smile all the time too. And, you know, the way I think about smiling, I always try to smile at people because I think, what if that person just really needed somebody to smile at them today? You never know, even the crabby ones, right? Maybe
Yeah.
they're crabby because something really bad happened to them today. So I just smile, you
Yeah.
know, and 9 times out of 10, even if they're crabby, they'll smile back because who can resist a really pretty smile, right?
Right. So we
So,
have to learn how to smile with our eyes now. You know,
right.
we're just going to have to learn how to do things differently to communicate. So that's the thing. Let's just put this as our pin right here to wrap up, which is if we have to wear masks, people cannot see our faces. They can't see our mouths. And that's how we show that we care, that I notice someone, that they might have a bad day, but we want to, throw them a smile. We can't do that now because when you smile, nobody can see what's happening. So now we have to smile with our eyes. We have to communicate physically different with people than we ever had in the past. So what makes you think you can run your business and communicate and do everything exactly the way you've always done it when the world is completely different?
You know, in 2006, when I moved to St. Louis with my family, we still had flip phones. We were texting, you know, like 3 letters on the number dial, right? And look at where we are today. 14 years later, you look at that and laugh and think, oh my gosh, such outdated technology. Things are going to change just faster and faster as technology changes, and we have to change with it. So that's really hard. And I get to talk about this topic because I'm an accountant and the world's supposed to be black and white, right? When you're in accounting and then you go start your own business, right? You go start your own business and nothing is like you thought it was. I mean, it's a scary place when you start your own business. And you got to keep learning. You've got to not be so resistant to change and be stuck where you are today. You don't want to be that printing company, right? That is no longer in existence because print changed. There's no reason you can't be a printing company today, but if you didn't keep up with the technology or didn't keep up with the changes in the world, you're not going to be in business. It's the same thing. The world has just changed at a dramatic place. And we just have to figure out where we fit in and go help people.
Yeah. Dream the impossible. Get in touch with those that are, in your database that you have had as customers or friends or anybody. Do an outreach of just seeing how they're doing and how things are going in their life. So thank you, Debbie. This has been just an amazing conversation. Let's talk about how people can get in touch with you. I know that we're going to drop the information into the Facebook video for those of you listening through the podcast. All of her links are right here in the description, so you can click on those links. So Debbie, talk to us about how someone can get in touch with you to have a consultation and also to be able to hire you to help them with their books and their financial strategy moving forward.
So you can reach out to me on my website, which is debbiecorriecfo.com. And of course, I had to spell Debbie Corrie different. So that's DebbieCorriecFO.com. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. There's a little form you can fill out, or you can reach me directly at my email, which is Debbie Corrie at B as in boy, the number 2, B as in boy, CFO.com. So that's Debbie Corrie at B2BCFO.com. And I'll be happy to get back to you after I'm done with my vacation.
You go enjoy the Grand Canyon. And I want to thank you so much. It's just been a pleasure having you here, and you've given us so many tips. So I will make sure that I list out some of those tips today as well that you've given us. So thank you so much for all your assistance and all your assistance that you've given to our community from the very beginning. You're an amazing.
Thanks so much for letting me come on today, Colleen. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
Been great. So listeners, I want you to remember that we have a Teaching Tuesday coming up on July 14th. This is a really good one for you to attend, especially because of what we were just talking about. Mel Carr is going to teach us about letting go. She's going to talk about how you delegate with virtual assistants and let other people do work that you shouldn't be doing so you can concentrate on the things that drive your business forward. Just exactly what we were talking about today. So make sure that you sign up for that free Teaching Tuesday webinar, as well as we have one on July 28th, and Jen Duplessis is going to join us on cracking the top producer code, and which she has done many times in her industry. So I'm really excited about that. Next week's guests, we're going to move it to Thursday, July 16th next week. And we've got Stacy Golden, Liz Knox. She's a financial advocate about Got It Together. So here we go. We're just always talking about money, always talking about how you can move your businesses forward. And then Karina Stewart's going to also join us, and she's a soul wealth coach. So her approach to wealth is much different than a financial approach to wealth. And so it's going to be a really great balance and conversation that day. So I just want to end by reminding all of you to remember that you are the only you that has ever been, and you are the only you that will ever be.
And stop comparing yourself to other people.
Absolutely.
You've got your own race to run, and run it at your pace.
Be the best you that you can possibly be. Be you and be strong. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week. All right. Bye, Facebook.